Addressing an agricultural conference, the President of India said, "It is a matter of gratification to me that I have been able to associate myself with this conference. You are aware of my interest in the work of this society from its very inception, and my interest in it has grown with the years. I am glad to see that during the 4 years of its existence, the society has made considerable progress and its utility and service have been generally recognized. I am also glad to see that your work published in your journals has been recognized not only in this country but in other countries as well. It is indeed heartening to know that all those who are interested in agriculture take a keen interest in the work of a society like this. We know that the whole question of planning is dependent more or less on correct statistical data. When we deal with a vast country like India with its great variations in the quality of the soil and in the nature of the people, we have to be very careful in collecting statistics which would give us accurate data for making plans for the future. Last year, I drew your attention to some aspects of agricultural statistics. I mentioned to you that I would welcome statistics with regard to the cost of agricultural produce, particularly of the sugarcane crop. You have been evolving the method of random sample surveys, and I understand that you have been able to devise a plan which gives accurate data. So far, you have confined your work only to crops, namely rice and wheat, but I feel that our information on agricultural produce will not be complete until we have covered all the crops. You have also very largely confined your activities to statistics regarding produce, and you have not covered the area under cultivation. The latter, I think, is as necessary and essential for a correct estimate of our food requirements and our food supplies as statistics about the produce. Unless we know the exact acreage under various crops, we cannot get complete figures about that produce from all crops in these areas. It is therefore a good thing that a scheme has been drawn up by the environment which will help you collect these statistics. There is another aspect of the question which has to be investigated. We have for some years laid great emphasis and spent large sums of money on the Grow More Food campaign. We have achieved certain results, but I do not know how far these results are accurate. These are reached by finding out what the increase in the produce is likely to be by the application of a particular method, as for example the introduction of improved seeds, better manure, better irrigation facilities, and the application of improved methods of cultivation. I think the only way in which increased yield is calculated at present is by multiplying the unit by the number of mounds which 1 acre is expected to produce. I am not sure if it is a very good method, because the application of these improved methods depends upon several factors in which the human factor is very important. We do not know how far the individual cultivator does employ in the right quantity the better seed that is given to him. We also do not know whether the soil is best suited for that particular seed or whether the manure is properly used. But to enable the government to from a correct estimate of the increased produce, it is necessary to find out what the increase has actually been. I do not think it is possible to meet every agriculturist and to find out from him what he was producing before and what he is producing now. I trust that you will be able to help the government to by statistical methods for assessing the value of this campaign. I know that in some cases we have been misled by the method of multiplication. This simple method in certain parts of the country has led to the conclusion that we have produced enough grain to meet the deficit. I was not surprised when ultimately these conclusions were Pellied because the method, though simple, is not always accurate. It is for you to supply the government with the data necessary to arrive at correct conclusions. There is another thing to which I would like to draw your attention. I have heard that in some ports which I have visited recently, the transfer of land from rice cultivation to jute is responsible for a large deficit in food. I do not know how far this statement is correct. I do not even know whether correct figures regarding the transference of land from rice to jute or from cotton to other food crops are known. But even if the figures are correct, it does not necessarily follow that any deficit which occurs in food can be attributed to this fact. During the war, a great part of the land under cotton cultivation, particularly in Bombay and the Madhya Pradesh, was taken over for food crops. I do not know if there was a corresponding increase in food production in those areas as one should have expected. Similarly, at the present moment, when there is a drive for the cultivation of more cotton and jute, we have to see the extent of its effect on your food supplies. In following statistical methods, we have to be careful in arriving at conclusions which would enable the government to assess the real situation. Another aspect which will require your attention will be the improvement which can be brought about by consolidation of holdings. I am told that such statistics as are available do not lead the conclusion that larger holdings necessarily result in larger yields. You will have to judge the result of the application of large scale cultivation and to see to what extent increase in the size of holdings results in a proportionate increase in the yield per acre. There is a difference of opinion amongst scientists with regard to the application of deep ploughing by tractors and other machinery. There are some who hold that deep ploughing leads to greater yield.